Hello, everyone, to our new episode of Hikayat podcast. Today we have a very special guest, a professor with whom I had one of my favorite semesters, one of my favorite courses, definitely, one that was very eye-opening. So could you please, Professor, present yourself and background and state what initially drew you to this particular field of study, as in to be a teacher or a
Okay.
professor.
I am a professor here at Al University, and I'm just not going to say my name if that's okay. But I teach public speaking and English composition. Could probably tell who I am from that. So why did I decide to go into this field? I didn't want to be a teacher. I'm going to be honest with you. That was not something as we're young and some people do. They want to be teachers. I didn't. I studied anthropology. I wanted to learn about people and cultures, which is why I joined the Peace Corps, and I was introduced to Morocco. And I fell in love with this culture and the people here. But one of my duties as a volunteer was to teach English to young adults in Morocco, and I found out that I was kind of good at it. Language, of course, I already had, but just being able to instruct, I'm a very communicative person, and as you know, I enjoy working with people, and so I went back to school and got my teaching degree. And then I've been very familiar with Morocco and AOI. This is my third time coming back to this university and working here, my 9th year working here. But I going to be honest again, I think I told you all in my class, I'm not trained to be a public speaking teacher. I don't really know much about that. I'm trained to be a writing teacher, and so that's where my specialty is. But with your semester, and again, I think I told you this, I did a lot of preparation ahead of time to completely redesign my class, and I think I did a lot better with it, inshallah.
I have no place of comparison, but it was, like I said, one of my favorite courses ever. You keep mentioning came to Morocco. Could you please tell us where exactly you came from?
Okay.
And what was it like to grow up there? And
Yeah, I am from California in the Valley in Clovis. My community and much of California is very diverse. So my best friends we all were a different color of crayon, and I was very used to that. I also grew up with a TV, and we had ads back then where you couldn't just skip the ads. We had to watch them. And one of them was the classic American propaganda of Peace Corps. And I think their advertisement then for the Peace Corps was, it's the toughest job you'll ever love. And so it was just always in the back of my mind. I always thought, that'd be so cool to do, but I don't know if I could ever do it. And then when it got to when I was about junior, senior as an undergrad, and again, I was studying anthropology and linguistics, I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know if I should go on to get a master's degree or try to get a job. I didn't know what to do, but our school had a job fair, and the Peace Corps had a table there, and I looked at their pamphlet. You go abroad and you can learn a new language and study a culture, and by the way, it could also look great on your CV. So I talked to my advisor, and I said, what do you think? Should I go and get a master's right now, or do you think I should do the Peace Corps? And he said, absolutely, go do the Peace Corps. Graduate school is always going to be there. It's always going to be there. It's always an issue, or it's not an issue for you. But this time in your life, you should take a gap from academia and just live a little. I said, okay. And so I was supposed to go to Eastern Europe for the Peace Corps, but something happened, and they ended up sending me to Morocco, which is kind of odd because when you sign up to be a volunteer, they ask you where you want to go, and I said anywhere in Africa is my preference, but I don't want to go to a Muslim country.
Interesting.
Again, because of probably propaganda and just ignorance, to be honest.
Just understandable, yes.
But now I'm Muslim, so I guess that didn't work. But anyways, I learned so much. And so that was my first time coming to Morocco as a Peace Corps volunteer. And then I met my husband my second year as a volunteer here. Wasn't my husband then, but then became. He wanted to, or I wanted to go back and finish my degree to get my master's. So we went back to California. And we were there for 3 or 4 years. And then we came back to Morocco again. That was our first time at AUI, and we both were teaching in the language center. And then he wanted to get his PhD, so we went back to the United States, and we were in Ohio this time. By this time, we had adopted our son, so he went with us. And then he finished his degree, and we went back to Morocco again. But we only stayed for 1 year at AUI because he was offered the opportunity to create his own university in Morocco, in Casablanca.
Okay.
And so we went ahead and tried that, but then COVID happened, and it just shut everything down. So we came back to AUI again, and this is our third time being here. So that's what I mean by that.
It's a very interesting story. A lot of going back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But tell me about your first years in AUI. What was your favorite aspect about teaching?
The students, it's always the students. I think from experience, there's issues with maybe, we are a growing institution, and anything that's growing, there are things that work and things that don't work. But the students, just like Morocco in general, the people, I've always just had an affinity for. They're always teaching me new things, and just kind of strange because I know that you think that you're the student and I'm the teacher, but you all are the ones who are teaching me things, and that's why I love to do this. Is you keep me young, and I just want to be a perpetual student anyway. I just always find it good to learn things. I like hearing different perspectives, and I especially like when I notice in the classroom if a student, whether they hear it usually from another student, a differing idea, and you can kind of see it in their head, that kind of and you can see the cogs working. So whether they're agreeing or disagreeing is not the issue, it's just that they're thinking about it, and I love seeing that. I love seeing discourse back and forth, again, whether they're agreeing or disagreeing, I don't care, but just that they're communicating, I love that. I especially love when I'm giving maybe an assessment and it's a quiz and the students are working together and they're talking about, no, it should be this one. No, I think it should be that one. Yeah. I love that. And meanwhile, the students think that they're cheating, they're getting away with something. Like, you don't understand, this is the objective right here.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that's for me what it is just seeing learning happening and trying to do my best to guide it in the way it needs to go.
That's something I really loved about the course with you. It never felt like a chase for grades. It always felt like I look forward to learning the next thing.
Yay!
And another thing I just remembered is you had us submit our reflections or reviews, I think, as a video. And I felt like that added another layer to things. We're not just names on a screen. We're more than that. We have a voice, and you can see the cogs working in our brain.
Yeah, but did you know that was an idea from a student?
Interesting.
Yeah, in our class.
Okay.
Yeah, and she said, can we do this as a video instead? I was like, that's brilliant, because we're a speaking class anyway, so we should be. Exactly. Yeah, so again, I'm always learning from you all.
Which is nice. And you mentioned education and learning going back and forth. and it's interesting to realize that instructors and professors and teachers also have a constant desire and hunger to learn as well. But yeah, tell me about what was your biggest challenge when you started teaching, and how did you overcome it?
I think managing my time, which is something with, I guess students as well, is something always an issue. But my first semester, or our first semester when we were here, we had 5 courses, and typically it's usually 4, or it could be even 3 if the person has a doctorate, or even less. But we had 5. So it was our first semester here, and we're that's our work ethic is, I don't know if it's just because we're American, but we're used to working hard, and we don't mind doing that. That's just something, I don't know, my father taught me to always do your best, and hard work is something to be proud of. But that, and then having a personal life, that was very difficult, because especially if you are working with English composition or just essay grading in general, it takes time to read those papers, evaluate them, and then assign it a grade, justify that grade as well. So that just takes time. So being able to manage that took a while, and now it's much better. But yeah, I would say that was the biggest thing. It wasn't culture, because I was already used to it. It wasn't really the institution, because again, I was kind of used to it. I mean, I could tell you some stories, man, when I was a volunteer, and the way that AUI treated me versus other places in Morocco was a dream. So that doesn't say, I don't know what that says. I don't know what that says.
But tell us some stories. It's fine if you have any.
Oh my gosh.
Anything off the top of your mind.
I was locked in my Dar Shabab when I was a volunteer. So our mudir forgot that I was there with a student. And how they tend to take little coffee breaks. Yeah. But it's not little, it's 45 minutes to an hour. But yeah, so he never cared about me, didn't really care that what we were doing, and forgot I was there. And so the thing about the Dar Shababs is that, in like a lot of buildings in Morocco, the windows are all completely shut with iron bars, right? So you can't get out. We had to just wait until he came back, and alhamdulillah he did. But I refused to work with him in that Dar Shabab anymore, because there happened to be another Dar Shabab, so I just worked there instead. And just, other things as being a woman, and then I was single as well, and a lot younger. Just the harassment and the disrespect that, I don't really want to go into other details of that. But
It really is an unfortunate aspect of life.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've been teaching for a while now. How many years exactly?
This would be my 19th year.
That's very impressive, mashallah. Throughout the years of teaching, what are some things do you feel like changed as students? Like things that changed with every batch for students?
Every generation?
Over the years. Yes.
Most of my teaching experience has been in Morocco or with a Muslim population. So what's very interesting is I remember my first years here, I would give examples such as Fatima is married to Jonathan, and they're happily married. And I remember students saying, "That's impossible."
Okay.
And I would say, "Why? I don't understand." And this was just an example of a sentence, and I never thought about the content being problematic. But a student would say, "Fatima or Fatima can never marry a Jonathan," because the assumption automatically was that Jonathan was not Muslim, and so this created a whole issue. But those kind of examples are not even an IBAT now. So that's very interesting, the difference. Things like that. It seems like the students are a little more open-minded to how things are. So that's very interesting that I've noticed. Also, of course, probably as you know, this issue with AI and plagiarism is more prevalent. But depending on the student, it could be, a real godsend for them as far as language as their own little tutor, if they know how to use it well. But it can also be very dependent, just like, we do with our device when we're bored and we just feel like we need to go directly to it. I myself was just thinking about that, how I want to be a good role model for my son and I don't want him to always see me with that. What else have I noticed? Again, with the changing times, I was teaching middle school in Casablanca. This was when we were supposed to start this new university, and I was there for a couple of years. And the students, I was so very surprised in a pleasant way that they knew a lot more about certain issues like LGBTQIA+, more than I did. And they were teaching me things, and they were verbally defending celebrities, in class, because that was their opinion. And again, it just was like, okay, that's great.
And that was middle school.
And that was middle school, right? Now they would be they're like sophomore or juniors. But yeah, so what else has changed with students?
Do you think there's a big change from pre-COVID and after COVID of students?
That's a good question. Yeah. I don't know if I'm just projecting or if it's like, something I hear about and so yeah, that's it. Or I don't know exactly. I don't want to make a direct correlation, but when I walk into the classroom, this is what I see always. And that's the first thing. And again, I don't know if it's because they are used to that habit of kind of being alone and having a relationship with something online versus like, oh, you're a human being and I'm here for class and I'm going to make eye contact with you. I don't know if that's the reason, but that is something that I've noticed. Yeah.
That's very interesting. Because COVID was a very isolating experience for all of us.
Yeah.
All of us. But and I imagine teaching comes with a lot of stress and anxiety and whatnot. How do you personally cope with the stress and anxiety?
Alhamdulillah, I have a partner who happens to work here, and so he knows exactly what I'm talking about, and we talk a lot about that. I love going swimming, and the wonderful thing about swimming is when you put your head underwater and your ears are underwater, then you do not hear anything, and love that. Yeah, I guess just talking about it with someone you trust.
And I imagine with teaching, you have to deal with criticism, be it from students or peers or superiors. How do you usually go about that?
I invite criticism. It makes me better. So if someone says I'm doing something wrong, I want to know. Can you tell me exactly what it is so I can improve? Sometimes I don't agree and I have reasons. But even if I don't agree, I still want to look at it. Am I sure? Let me consider if there's another way. It's always a way to grow. The only thing that I really struggled with, and again, this is nothing at AUI, alhamdulillah, but when I was teaching, again, high school and middle school in Casablanca, the students there just did not have a lot of respect, and I just learned very quickly that that's not for me. I don't have enough patience for students like that.
Because there's a difference between raising a child and teaching a child.
For sure,
Exactly.
For sure, yeah.
Over the years, what are some changes you saw in the context of higher education? Like we talked about how students have changed. Like has the idea or the institution or the curriculum of higher education changed over the years?
That's a good question, and I don't know if I would be the best person to ask because I haven't taught English composition consistently.
Okay.
I taught those 19 years. I mean, that's teaching refugees. That's teaching the Dar Shabab. It's teaching middle school, high school, language center, and then composition itself. I would say the only thing that I've noticed the difference there is, especially with AUI and Morocco, is they're trying to make sure that students know how to borrow information, and not only borrow it through citations, but to really synthesize it better. You know, instead of just copy paste and, you know, kind of Frankenstein put it together, but really kind of make it unified, and especially with, you know, AI nowadays, still showing their own individual voice.
Yeah, definitely.
Their human voice.
In my personal opinion about AI and generating texts and papers is, in a way, it feels like I am doing myself wrong. I don't know if it's an ego thing, but when I write a paper or something, I need it to have that me touch, personal opinion, that personal lingo and jargon. When it's not there, it just feels very alien to even read.
Yeah.
Let alone submit, it's too much. So
that's good that you recognize that.
Yeah. But I imagine most, if not all, students have a very different attitudes. Some people come for the grades, some people come to learn. That's the difference. What would you say is a moment throughout your teaching career in which you realized, yes, this is something I want to do for a long time? Something that ignited the passion for teaching, at least long term.
I don't know. I can't pinpoint a specific day or time. I just know when I was in the Peace Corps, just working with the students then, I just remember feelings. Feeling like this is good. I've always wanted to help people, which is why I was drawn to the Peace Corps anyway. I've always wanted to help people. In this way, I can do it and get paid. It's not too stressful. I can still focus on my family and still be creative. And I think that's something that, like, especially with public speaking, I really tried to push a little bit is how can I still show my creativity and inspire others to be creative as well. I just those feelings, but I don't have a specific example.
Creativity plays a very big role. I remember we had Shark Tank in class, and we had to pitch business ideas. That was a very nice idea in class. And I remember trying to pitch the idea of opening a pizza place and selling beer in Ifren.
And I remember your girlfriend came in to play quite a bit.
Yeah.
Is she still?
No.
Oh.
No, yeah, that's...
Okay, kill the mush. Your girlfriend was actually like a subject in the classes.
She was. And that's the fact. She wasn't even an AUI. That's the thing.
She was from Italy, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, like you mentioned, on the phone. It was during COVID, and things just developed and took off from there. And there was just this urge, this need to... I need this person to be included in my life, so they just slip and find their way into my academics. But yeah, that's from the past, I imagine. You were part of a few projects in AUI. I remember you being part of the public speaking contest.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the most memorable or like rewarding project you were part of in AUI?
No, I mean, I love seeing students who are very interested in that perform. That's fun to see. But I don't, as far as projects go with AUI, maybe I haven't been doing a whole lot. I am a part of many committees, but I don't think students they know about them. They're kind of, you know, I guess administration type of committee, so students may not know about them. But I guess as far as a project that students know, that would be it. But yeah, I do some other things that are just not as visible.
Yeah, definitely. like we mentioned, you've been around quite a bit, back and forth, Morocco, the States, different times, different places within Morocco, different attitudes within Morocco. Uh, what was the biggest cultural shock? Like the biggest stepping out of your comfort zone in the context of culture?
When I first got here from California, I threw up on the plane when I came over here because I was just so very, very scared and anxious. So when I first got here, for sure, this whole issue of, kissing on both cheeks was very strange. I was not used to being that close with people at all. And just the attention from men was very shocking. I mean, it's not like, females in the United States, we don't get attention. It's not that. It's kicked up 1,000 times here. And it's, I think the thing is that, like, in the United States, there are times when you show that you want attention, and then other times it's clear you don't. And here it's just open all the time.
Oh.
And it's just, that was maybe the biggest thing. Being followed everywhere I go, being touched in ways I didn't want to be touched. Talked to, I was attacked at one point, which made me want to, I did leave the Peace Corps early because of that. I've had some really horrible experiences here. But the thing that made me want to stay, and I talked about this with my husband. We're thinking, do we want to go back to Morocco, because he knew what happened to me. Mm-hmm. And we talked about it, and the thing that made me want to come back was the good experiences that I had with people, which really genuinely I hadn't experienced in other places, and did mean very much to me. My host family that I have a very strong relationship with in Safrou, they're like my real family. Yeah. And then of course my son, we want him to grow up in his culture, so that's important.
Would you say Ifran is especially different when it comes to that, in the context of safety and feeling comfortable and whatnot?
For sure. I would not live anywhere else in Morocco but Ifran, and I made that clear to my family, like, it's here or nowhere.
Okay. Yeah. Are you comfortable sharing the story of how you embraced Islam? Yeah. That's a good story too. Okay. So my husband, converted before I did. He converted a year before I did, and that was an interesting journey too, because we were both Quaker before coming here. He grew up in a Catholic household, and he was very Catholic. I grew up my parents were both Catholic, but they did not raise us to have a religion. Okay. We just didn't talk about it. But when we got married, my husband and I, we became Quakers. What's Quaker?
It's a denomination of Christianity, but basically they don't, it's very open-ended as in how you decide to pray. It's very equal. There's no real imam or, priest. It's kind of whoever feels the inspiration to speaks, and then we all try to listen to what is being heard. And they're very much in favor of justice, so that's what they're known for. Anyway, so he converted to Islam, and along his journey, he started acting very differently. For example, he didn't want to hold hands in public and things like that, very niche. And so that caused some problems for a while. But then, we both started to learn a little bit more about it. Fast forward, we wanted to start a family. And we both, even before we got married, we talked about adoption. That was something that I've always wanted to do. That's something he's always wanted to do. And that's one of the reasons why so many things we had in common. So that story is a very interesting one as well. But to adopt a child, to get the kasula, kasula? No.
Kafala.
Kafala. And what is kasula? Kasula is lazy, no?
Lazy. Feminine for lazy.
See, where my mind is lazy right now. Kafala. So for kafala, if you're a foreigner, if you're non-Moroccan, then you have to be Muslim. Both the male and the female, both sides. And then if you're a single male, you cannot get kafala. If you're a single woman, you can. But if you're a married couple and you're not Moroccan, then you need to prove that you are Muslim.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't sure about that because at that time he was and I wasn't. Mm-hmm. And in order for us to do this, we both had to be. So for about a year, I thought about it and I talked to a lot of people. I talked to a lot of females. A lot of female Muslims, friends that I knew, especially females who wore hijab and who didn't, because for me that was a very interesting point, but also talking to them about how they practice, because I've known Somali Muslims, I've known Saudi Muslims from Indonesia, so I've talked to different people from different places, how they pray and you know what's expected and things like that. So it was a difficult decision for me, but at the end of the day, I felt like, okay, I'm okay with this, and I feel comfortable with it. But the interesting is with the hijab, I still don't feel comfortable. I'm not wearing a scarf right now because of faith. I'm actually wearing this because I didn't wash my hair. But I just didn't grow up with that, wearing a scarf. I just didn't. And so it's not a part of my identity. And it has nothing to do with my religion. It has nothing to do with my faith. So I decided to do that. We both had to go to a notary, and he had to verify, we said the shahada, and then we talked to an imam here. He was also a witness with us from here at AUI, and then that started the process, and from then on, a good friend of mine, she bought me a Quran that's in English and in Fosa. I'm not through it. I think I got through the first couple chapters. It's difficult to get through. And I feel like I'm always learning. Again, like that is something that I'm learning from my students and just from everyone in general. My host family is Sifru. They've been very helpful as well. It's just one of those things, religion and faith and spirituality. It's never ending, and anyone who says they're a master and expert in that, I just don't know if I can trust you. It's just something that's just always, you can always learn something new from it.
And then you finally got to adopt your son.
Yeah.
Which was quite the experience as well, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Being a mother in Morocco and having recently joined Islam, it's a beautiful story. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Tell me about the future. What aspirations or initiatives do you hope to pursue within the university to further enhance your experience? Something you're looking forward to.
Well, it's interesting. I can't help but just when I think about the future, the thing that's in my mind is my family. I don't really think about my job in the future. Alhamdulillah, I have a career, I have an education. No matter what happened to me here, I can always find work other places. So I don't feel like work kind of drives my life. My family does, and so when I think about the future, I'm just thinking about my son and hoping that he gets through, and he graduates and he's happy, he's healthy, I was just talking to my husband today about retirement. We're not going to retire anytime soon, but we were just talking about our future and things that we hope for. But I guess for the university, just always getting better at my craft, getting better and better, inshallah.
Yeah. You ever think about going to the States or moving there ever?
Well, we've done that, quite a bit. I would say right now this is the best place for us. There's so much going on with the United States that we're not really happy with, and our family especially, we're not the most welcome in some places, so we have to be careful. I think in the far future we probably will. When we do retire, we probably will. But right now the best place for us is here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, exactly. And it's very nice that you feel welcome and safe in Ifran at least.
Yeah.
It's quite the bubble, especially with an
It
AOI. Yeah. It's very different. Casablanca is nothing like Ifran, and neither is Tanja nor Rabat. Even the capital it's nothing like Ifran. I remember when I first came to Ifran, it felt very much like a different city.
Yeah.
It didn't feel a different country. It didn't feel like Morocco at all.
Yeah.
And sure, it has its flaws. The taxis are too expensive. Like you used to bring up in class. The taxis are too expensive, and even the marché is unimaginably expensive. But you find your way around. You go to the Sunday marché, and you make your way through things.
You make your way.
And I think we'll wrap up the episode here.
Okay.
Thank you very much for accepting our invitation. Would you like to add anything?
No, thank you. I think this is a great project, and I hope it goes well.
Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening. This has been Mu'taz, and I will see you in the next episode.